Hey GK, it's time for us to do some math. Today we're continuing our work with Linus the Minus, and we're going to be using a new strategy to help us with solving our number sentences with Linus the Minus. So let's begin with our objective and then we'll hop into this new strategy. So objective is what we are going to learn. I can solve subtraction problems using a 10 frame. So we're still working with Linus. We know that because we're working on subtraction problems. And remember, Linus the Minus, he likes to take things away. And when we're taking away, that means that we're subtracting. We're using our minus symbol. So our strategy is to use a 10 frame. And let's remember our little strategy song. A strategy is a tool that I can use. I can use. I can use. A strategy's a tool that I can use to help me learn. So our strategy that we're going to be working with is our 10 frames. And we've talked about 10 frames when we're talking about Gus the Plus and adding up. Today we're going to think about them when we're subtracting. And using a 10 frame is actually very similar to how we were using our pictures to help us subtract. So this should be easy peasy for us. Let's practice with a subtraction problem. So I'm just going to write a random problem here. I'm just going to come up with one. Let's say 4 minus 2. And we'll think about what that equals. So if we had 4 and we take away 2, how many are we left with? How would I solve this using my 10 frame? Well, I want to start with my number that I'm taking away from first. And I'm going to start with 4, and then I'm going to take 2 away. So I'm actually going to start by coloring in 4 10 frames here, because that is how many I'm starting with. So 1, 2, 3, and one more, 4. Now, I'm going to be taking away 2 of these 10 frames. So just like we did when we were drawing pictures to show our number sentences, I'm going to cross out 2. I'm going to cross out 1, 2. Now, I could have crossed out any of my 10 frames. I decided to cross out my last 2. Now, how many 10 frames do I have left over? How many frames do I have still filled in that are not crossed out? So I crossed out 2. Let me draw a little bit darker X's so you can see. Now, how many do I have left? I have 2 left. So I had to count how many I had left over that didn't have X's on them. So that's how I would show my work with my 10 frame. I would start by coloring in the number that I'm starting with, that I am subtracting from, and then I would cross out the number that Linus is taking away. Let's do one more, and then you're going to have some to practice at home. Okay. So our next problem that we're going to try out is going to be 8 minus 5. No. Okay, so here's our next problem, 8 minus 3. What am I going to do first? What's my first step here when I'm using this strategy? I need to color in 8 frames because that's how many I'm starting out with before I subtract. So here I go, coloring in 8 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I still need to make sure that when I go down to the next line, just like when we were adding, I have to start on the left again. 6, 7, and 8. So now I filled in 8 frames, and how many do I need to cross out? I need to cross out 3 because I can see that that's how many Linus is taking away. He's taking away 3. So I'm going to cross out my bottom 3 here. Now, how many do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 left. I also know that there's 5 on my top row, so I could have seen that I have a full top row and known that I had 5 left. So that's another example of how we're using our 10 frame. So I'm going to give you some problems to practice at home now. Okay, so here are your 3 problems that I want you to try out at home. Our first one is 10 minus 2 equals, so you start with 10, you take away 2. What are you left with? Our second one is 7 minus 4 equals, so you start with 7, take away 4, how many do you have left? Our last one is a little bit tricky, so I want you to really think about this one. 3 minus 0. You start with 3, you take away 0. How many do you have left? So show me your work with your 10 frames. You can do all the problems on one page and take a picture of them if you want to just draw some 10 frames, or you can do them each on your subtraction sheet and take a picture of them or take a video. So go ahead and do these problems, send them in to me, and I can't wait to see how you do. Great job today!